Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this Let's Learn. Now, before we jump into today's demonstration, I just want to go over some PowerPoint slides here. And of course, just to make sure you put a face to the voice that you'll be hearing, my name is Angel, and I'll be your trainer for today. Now, for today's agenda, we're going to take on more advanced features, especially if you're an owner of any type of team site or a communication site. We'll start off by planning our site and learn the differences between a communication site and a team site. We will then dive into building our own sites and managing web parts and more. Finally, we'll review how to manage the usage and permissions of all users inside of that site. SharePoint Online is used by organizations to create websites. You can use SharePoint as a secure place to store, organize, share, and access information from almost any device. All you need is a web browser. With SharePoint Online, you can have two different types of sites. We have communication sites and we have team sites. With communication sites, you can communicate news company-wide through a custom-built and secure internal intranet site, or what we call a communication site. You can start from a blank canvas, and then you can choose to use a template to help you get started with different web parts and more. No matter which one you choose, you can add, remove, or reorder the web parts as you need to. A team site is the back end of Microsoft Teams. So when you create a team, a corresponding SharePoint team site is automatically created and linked to Microsoft Teams. Now, you can create a team site directly through SharePoint Online that won't have a Teams interface, but you have the option to convert that into Teams later on if you want to. A team site is the smallest type of SharePoint site and is designed to be used within a silo team. It offers different customization options compared to Microsoft Teams platform, making it easier to post links to articles, files, and more in one secure place. You can connect your organization in the centralized location to extend collaboration with your colleagues. SharePoint allows your team to share files, data, news, and resources, and you can customize your SharePoint site to fit the needs of your team, projects, and more. With SharePoint Online, you have access to the intelligent search bar to find any information that you need. You can search through files, people, sites, news, and more. You can even do more with the information by integrating additional Microsoft 365 applications such as Microsoft Lists, Power Automate, or the Power Platform. Microsoft 365 apps integrates seamlessly to SharePoint to help create those rich experiences. Alrighty, so for now, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize this PowerPoint presentation, and I'll be utilizing the Windows 11 platform here, but it doesn't matter which platform you're utilizing, as it is a web-based application. So I'll be utilizing my Microsoft Edge. And if you're curious as to the jumpstart for SharePoint, all you have to do is simply go to office.com. And from office.com, you either will be greeted to log in, or if you're logged in already, you'll be greeted with this page where you already have access to a lot of the files that you've been working on from your either your SharePoint or even your OneDrive. But in order to access SharePoint, all you have to do is navigate to the upper left-hand corner where you'll see a waffle icon known as the App Launcher, where you can find the recently accessed Microsoft 365 applications from here, and you can click on SharePoint. Now, if you don't see it on this list, you can just simply go to where it says All Apps, and it will showcase all the Microsoft 365 applications that you have a license for in alphabetical order. So I can see that SharePoint is here. Once I click on SharePoint, it will open up a new tab for me, and it'll leave this tab open. Now that we're here on our SharePoint Online, I just want to go ahead and point out three main elements that you'll see as familiar throughout Microsoft 365, which is your left-hand rail containing the tools that you'll need, the main content area on the center of your screen, and your horizontal bar menu on the top of the screen. If you noticed on the upper right-hand corner, I'm currently logged in as Megan Bowen. Megan Bowen is a fictitious character who works for a fictitious company called Contoso. So for today, we'll be utilizing demonstration account here. So nothing personal here, just all demonstration. Alrighty, so in order for you to create a site, you'll have to go up to the upper left hand corner. You'll see Create Site. Once you click on Create Site, you'll have two options here, a team site and a communication site. Now, we went over what the differences are, but I just want to reiterate this. So when it comes to a team site is for a smaller group of people who work and collaborate on a regular basis, who consistently need to share resources like document libraries, a OneNote notebook, a planner, and even a shared Outlook with a shared inbox. Meanwhile, we have our communication site, which works very similar to a portal where people can go see general news that has been sent out by the entire organization. It's usually managed by a smaller group of people in charge of communication. It's going to contain videos, news, and resources that the organization needs as far as policies and procedures. Now, we're going to go ahead and just click on a team site, and we're going to start creating a site from here. So I'm going to click on team site, and I'm going to give this team site a name. So this is going to be our demo team. And it's going to give me the option over here if it's available or not. I also have the option to change the group email address over here. It's going to automatically just pick up on the name that you gave the site, but if you want it to be different, you do have the option to click on the pencil so you can change that group email. You also have the option to do the same thing for the website, but I'm going to leave it just as is. You do have the option to add a description, and you will have the option over here to make this either a public or a private group. In this case over here, I'm going to make this team site private. I'm going to leave it private here. And of course, you do have the option to change your language. I'm going to leave it as is, and I'm going to hit next. Now from here, this is where you can have the option to start adding members. And to add members, it's going to start picking up from your organization directory. So for example, I want to go ahead and add Nestor. I can add Nestor. I want to add Adele. I can go ahead and add Adele. Let's go ahead and add Alex as well. Whoops. Pradeep. Lydia. I can continue adding multiple members here, but I'm going to keep it at just this for now. And as you can see underneath their name, it says member, where you can, right here from this particular menu, you can go ahead and promote somebody to an owner. For example, I want Nestor to be my owner. Now, it is within best practice for you to always have more than one owner for any team site or communication site, because something happens and you're on vacation or you're not available, you always want somebody else to fall back on. So we're going to leave it as that. I'm going to go ahead and leave Nestor as my owner. Of course, I can promote more than one people to owner here, but I'm going to leave it as is and hit finish. Once you create the site, you'll be greeted with this window over here to start designing your own site. But I'm going to go ahead and be the help for this section. Now, you will automatically have some web parts already here built out for you. But we're going to start off simple, and then we're going to come back to this. Now, when it comes to customizing your team site or even your communication site, it comes in 3 different parts. The first part we're going to do here is go into the cogwheel on the horizontal bar menu. So by going into the cogwheel here, I will have a lot of options if I want to add a page, add an app, or so on from here. But what I want to put your attention on here is change the look at the bottom of the list. By hitting change the look, you'll have 3 options here to change the theme. Currently, it's on a purple theme here. If I wanted to go for a red theme, for example, I can do that. And as you can see, it automatically picks up the color from here. I think I'm going to go for red. If you wanted to go dark mode, you can do that as well by going into a dark yellow mode or a dark blue mode. For today's demonstration purpose, I'm going to keep it on red, light mode here. And before I hit save, I'm going to change the rest. So I'm going to go to the top here and hit on the back arrow. And I'm going to change the header as well. Currently, it's on compact. You do have the option to go minimal, standard, or extended. I'm going to go ahead and keep it standard just because I like the option to have the follow right there. I'm going to show you in a second. So we're going to leave it on standard. And of course, you can fill into color here. If I put it red, over here, I'm not sure what the differences are, but I do like it, the header to stand out. So I'm going to leave it there. And from here, you do have the option to also change your image. So you can change over here for the site logo thumbnail or the site logo itself. The thumbnail site logo is going to be here. Site logo is going to be here. And meanwhile, the site logo thumbnail is going to be up here. Now, once you're done, of course, you can just simply hit save. But I do want to do one more thing. So I'm going to go right back to the top and hit the back arrow. And I'm going to go to navigation. And you'll have two different options here. We have our navigation, which is our side menu here, where we have our conversations, our documents, and so on. Where if we want to put it as a horizontal menu, we can do that instead. And then we'll have two options here, whether we want a cascading menu or a mega menu. A cascading menu would be if you hover over a certain item, it will then give you more options. Opposed to mega menu will give you all the options from the jump. Now, because this is a team site, I personally like keeping team sites at vertical. Reason being is that communication sites by default have horizontal orientation, and that's the only option you will have. So in order for me to distinguish a communication site from a team site, I will go ahead and just leave it on vertical. Once I'm done over here, I can just go to the bottom and hit save. And there you go. That was the first part, which was pretty easy. And the reason why I left this as to a standard header is because I do have the option here for my following, which I'm going to go ahead and follow this page, which will show up on my following tab, which we'll go back to in a second. And of course, we have our members tab here where we can continue adding members or even promote members directly from here as well if you're the site owner. So now that we've gone ahead and changed the look, I want to go ahead and change the web parts here. So in order for me to do that, I would just have to go right here on the right-hand side where it says edit, and it'll change the view for me. And it will give me the option now to change these web parts. Now, you'll have the option over here to save draft if you're looking to finish your work later on in terms of customizing your site, where if you save as draft, then by default, it'll show up whatever was left last. For the people coming in. I have the option over here to discard changes. I have the option for page details and analytics. And over here on the left-hand side, you'll have my tools if I want to add a new section. I have the option to edit this particular section, to move the section, duplicate, and delete the section. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything here. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the entire section by selecting the blank section here and selecting delete this entire section here. So we can start from scratch. Now, in order for me to start, I just simply have to go back to the left-hand side where I have the plus icon, where I do have the option to start 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, and so on. I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2 columns. So it's going to separate it for me as such. So now I have my column on the top and my column on the bottom, as well as side to side. So I'm going to go ahead and click on plus here, and I'm going to start something very simple here. So I want to go ahead and, since this is my team site, I want to go ahead and add my document library. So I just can scroll down to where it says documents, list, and the libraries. And from here, I'll have a lot of options. But again, I just want to go ahead and add a document library where my teammates can store and access files. So we're going to click on document library. It's going to ask me what type of document we're going to add. We're just going to do a standard here. So we're going to select documents. Perfect. And now I just added my document library here. So when my colleagues come to this site, all they have to do is either upload their files or add new files directly from this site. Now I want to go ahead and go to next to this panel, and I want to hit the plus sign here as well, so I can add more options. Now, you're not limited to just these. As you can see, you have YouTube here. So if you need to add video clippings from third-party applications, you can do that. If I needed to add my Twitter, I can do that from here as well. But what I want to do here is add news. The reason why I want to add news is because we can go ahead and essentially merge your communication sites and your team sites. So I can have company news coming in from here. So I can click on news. And from here, I can go ahead and customize this in a number of ways. You can customize a lot of your web parts here, by simply hovering over that web part, and you'll have again the option to move the web part, or the pencil over here to edit the web part. From here, it'll tell you if you want news directly from the site. You want news from selected sites, so you can go into whatever other communication or even team site to pull the news from, or we can put it on recommended news. And it'll just simply give me recommendation news from there. Now, if you have a communication site that's tied into your team site, then of course you can just simply select that particular site from here. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it on recommended news. And as you can see, I have plenty of other options here. But I'm going to keep it simple and leave it as is and close this. Now, one other thing I want to do is actually add another web part. I want to add a button for easy access for for my colleagues to, for example, reach their trainings. So again, I can just simply hit the plus right beneath where I can add another web part here. And I can go ahead and search here for those web parts. So what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and add a button web part where I can program that button so they can be redirected. So let me see if I can find that here. Was it in the top? There it is. It says button right here on the top. So I'm going to select a button web part. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and now click on the pencil so I can now program this. So I'm going to hit the edit web part. And from here, I'm going to label this training. And from here, I can go ahead and now redirect them to wherever the training site is. So it's going to be https:// www.microsoft.com. So this is, again, just an example. So if anything, of course, you just put the website that makes sense to you. So I'm going to put training, the Microsoft website, and I'm going to go ahead and align this button towards the center. And I think I'm good here. So I'm going to hit the X to exit this out. So in just a matter of a few minutes, I went ahead and added the document library. I added the news feed, and I added a web part here, for a button web part here, so they can click and access that training. Once I'm done, I can just simply hit republish, or I can save as a draft. Again, if you do decide to save it as a draft, your colleagues will still have access to the prior version of whatever the web parts were there. So I'm going to keep this simple, and I'm going to hit republish. Again, are you ready? Yes, republish. So now I'm done over here. I customized the look, and secondly, I customized the web parts here. If I click on training, it should redirect me to Microsoft.com, and as you can see, as I hover over it, it's telling me what page it's taking me to. So if I click on this particular button, it's going to automatically open up a new page to that Microsoft website. Now, the third option, so we've already did two. We did the look, we did the web parts, would be our navigations over here. So we have our home, our conversation, documents. Sometimes you may not need all of this, and sometimes you may need to add something to this list, where you have the other option here, so you can edit from here as well. So we can click on edit. And now we do have the option to customize this in a number of ways. First thing you can notice here is that you can drag and drop this. So if I want my pages to be on the top, I can put the pages to be below conversations. I can add more options by simply hovering in between, and I'll have a line here with a plus. And of course, I have the ellipses. With the ellipses here, I have the option to edit this particular option. I can move up or down, or you can just simply drag and drop. I can make sublink, which we'll show in a second, or I can remove this entirely. Now, conversations is where your Outlook is, your group Outlook with your shared inbox. So anytime you click on conversations, that's going to open up the shared Outlook that you have for this team site. Now, I don't think we're going to be utilizing this much, so I can go ahead and remove this from here. If I needed to add it again, if I removed it accidentally, I can just simply hover in between and hit on the plus sign, where I do have the option to either add a link, or I can add that conversations again. If I select on conversation, it's going to automatically generate that link for that shared Outlook. And it's going to go ahead and give me that display name for conversations. Now, I don't think conversation is very the word that we want to use, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to add it again, but instead I'm going to call it this inbox. I think that makes more sense. I'm going to click on OK. And there you go. Now, instead of conversations, it says inbox because it makes more sense, at least to me. Now, you do have the other options over here. So if you want to add a link, you can do that. Adding the link would be the exact same way as we added this button over here. So if I wanted to add a link here and I want to do the same thing, .microsoft.com, and I want to go ahead and label this training, it doesn't matter where they are. Now they can access their training directly from this menu as well if they're not currently, if they're somewhere else, basically. Now, I can also have other options over here by selecting, I'm sorry, here. Oh no, I'm actually going to demonstrate that actually within our communication sites. So now that we've done everything that we needed to do here, I can click on Save. And there you go. As easy as that, we went ahead and customized our look by going into the cogwheel. We customized our web parts by going into the Edit section. And we customize our navigation here by going into the Edit section within our navigations towards the bottom. Now, you do have other options here. There's this button here that says New. You can create new document libraries from here as well. So if you want to add a separate document library, you can do that. And you can set up permissions later that way. Or you can set up permissions within the same document libraries. We're going to go into permissions after we're done with customization. But from here, now we're done. I want to go ahead and go now back to my home screen of my SharePoint screen. And now start creating a communication site, which we're going to only touch on briefly because you're going to see it's very similar to how to create a team site. So we're going to simply click on SharePoint. That's going to be functioning as our home button. And from here now comes back to our home page here where we can click on Create and select a communication site. Now, before we click on communication and start creating, I just want to point out that if you don't, click on yes. If you don't know how to distinguish a communication site from a team site, it's going to be very simple. I'm just going to go on my view all that I'm following here. So I'm part of my sales and marketing team, which this is a team site, and it says group on the bottom. For communication sites, such as this one here, the landing, it won't say anything on the bottom. So anytime you see group, it's indicating that it's a team site opposed to a communication site that says nothing. All right, now that I got that out of the way, we're going to hit create. And we're going to now create a communication site. Again, this is going to be our demo news. And again, it's going to give us the option to customize the the web page access here, or the site address. But it won't give us the option for email because, again, a communication site does not have a shared inbox like a team site does. I do have the option to add a description as well as change the language, just like I would when creating a team site. So I can simply hit finish. But once I hit finish, unlike creating a team site, is not going to give me the option to add members because a communication site is meant to be company-wide. So when it comes to this particular communication site, it's going to be available for everyone. However, in order for you to make it more prominent, I highly suggest going into the share button. So you can have the share option here and you can share it to other colleagues here. So for example, again, I want to share this to Nestor. I can click on Nestor. I want to share this to Adele. I can share this to Adele, Alex, Pradeep, Lydia. I can go ahead and add more people again. And again, it is recommended to have more than one owner. So currently everybody has read privileges so they can come into the site and read whatever the news articles have to offer. But I want to go ahead and make Nestor an administrator here. So I'm going to give him full control. Meanwhile, I want Adele to help me out on the editing process here and there. So you can see there are two different options here. So full control will give control just like I have control, so the full access. Meanwhile, Adele does not have the privilege to delete this site, only to edit some of the web parts here and there. And again, once I've selected the people that I want to share this with, and I added my moderators essentially, I can go ahead and add a message to this particular email that I'm going to send out. Hey guys, please check this out. So again, I can send them an email, make sure that it's not spam, and this also increases more engagement on this particular site. And the more engagement that this site has, the more prominent it will be on the front page of your SharePoint site. So the same way that we had those three options to customize your team site, you will have the same options here within your communication site. So again, we're going to start off with going to the cogwheel on the top bar, and we're going to click on change the look. But you'll see an additional option here called footer, which we'll get to in a second. For now, I'm going to go ahead and change the theme. So I want this again to be red. I can simply click on the back arrow. Header, I want this to be a standard header, and I want the color to pop out. Same thing as I did with my team site. Again, I can change the logo if I needed to, but I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to click on navigation. And from here on navigation, you'll see that you only have one option here. So it'll only give you the horizontal view. Whether you want a mega menu or a cascading menu is the only option you will have. So I'm going to click on back. And finally, we have our footer. Let me go ahead and scroll to the bottom over here. And as you can see, there's a footer right down here. I could put it extended and extend it if I want more options here, or I can keep it on simple. I can also add a logo from here if I wanted to. So if I want to go ahead and add a logo, I can just simply go that. Let me go ahead and just add this particular logo. I can go ahead and do that from here. Because it's all red, you're not going to see it, but it's right down here. I can also go ahead and put a message down here. So if you want to add your social media accounts or whatnot, you can do that. Or you can just simply put here for help. And as you can see, as I'm writing down here, it's already populating down here. And I can simply here put an email over here. So it's going to be at ms.com, for example. And I can just simply hit save. And as you can see, now that options is going to be available for my header. And I'll have the options over here as well for my web parts, which we haven't gotten to. But as you can see, it's going to be the same options. So if I click on the edit option here, where I can click on edit, and I can customize these web parts, it's going to be exactly the same way as you would on a team site. So if you needed to add something else in between, you can do that. You can hit the plus sign, and you'll have all the same options available here. So I'm going to leave it as is. And from here, I can just simply republish this. However, once you hit republish, you will have a different option here. It says schedule launch. So let's say you have a product that hasn't been launched yet, it's not official news. You can start working on that communication site regarding that particular product or particular announcement, particular changes, and you can schedule a launch so it can coincide with its release date from here. But for now, I'm going to leave it as is and hit republish. And again, you'll have the exact same option to edit your navigation here. So I can click on edit. Instead of it being towards the side, I now have it here on my horizontal bar. So I can click on edit, which again will give me more options here. For example, I want to go ahead and click on, I want to add more options here. I can simply click on the plus sign here. And in this case over here, we're only going to have two options. We're going to have a link or a label. So for example, if I wanted to make a label over here, I can just make a label here and call this resources. I can click on OK. And now I want to go ahead and add more options here and make these a sublink. So I'm going to go ahead and name this our IT support. And I'm just going to put here, again, Microsoft.com. Once I'm done, I can click OK. And now I'll have the option to go into the ellipses here, and I'll have the option over here to move up, or I can make sublink here. By making sublink, it'll indent a little bit. So now that option will be under our resources. So if I needed to add now something else, I can go ahead and add something else over here. Again, it's just going to be a link. Just going to put Microsoft.com, and from here, it's going to be our help desk. And I can click OK, and it automatically now will create that as a sublink. Once I'm done, I can just simply click on Save, and now there'll be a downward arrow here. And as I hover over it, that IT support and help desk options will pop up here. So you can see it was that easy. So again, we went to our cogwheel to change the look. In addition, this had the footer option. I went to the edit option to edit our web parts. Didn't do much because you can see it was the same options as you would on a team site. And we did edit our navigation, which we have now our resources. As you can see, again, very simple. Alrighty, so now that we went through our building the sites, I'm just going to go ahead and go back to our team site we just created. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and now start adding some restrictions here. So I'm going to start by going into our permissions. Looks like it didn't follow that site. Looks like it's not here. Let me see. Where is that site I just created? Excuse any delays here, as it is a demonstration account that I'm currently using. So there it is, our demo team site. Perfect. So that way I can have it. So I can have it on my main screen at all times. I would suggest, if anything, you can follow. Looks like I am following. It just didn't pop up over there, but no worries. So now that I went ahead and created my team site here, I want to go into my document library and now start creating new folders here. So within my document library, I can go ahead and click on new, and this is going to be a new folder here. I'm just going to call this management. Whoops. I'm going to create a new folder here, call this resources. And I'm going to add a new file here for all right, so now that I've created my new folders here, anyone from this particular team site, which is only 6 members here, but anyone has access to all of the folders here. Now I can go ahead and start adding some restrictions here. For example, management, I only want management to access this particular folder. So in order for me to do that, I can go into the ellipses, and I have the option here to manage access. So I can click on manage access, and now I'll see who has access here. So currently I see here that demo team site visitors do have view options, but I don't want them to have view options at all. I'm going to click on stop sharing. There you go. And I see again that everyone within this particular team site has access to this. I don't want everybody to have access. So I can just simply stop sharing from here as well. Now I want to go ahead and share this to particular people. So I can click on the plus sign here, and now I have the option to add my managers, which is going to be Adele and Nestor. So now I can go ahead and leave this clicked on for notify people, and I can add a message here. This, because they will receive an email. This will be our clearly I can't spell management, so there you go. And once we're done, I can simply click on grant access. So now I easily managed permissions from here. So now only Adele and Nestor has access to this particular management folder. Now, I also have my resources folder here, and I do want my colleagues to be able to click on resources and be able to view those resources there. But I'd only want them to have view only permissions. So I can do the same thing. I can click on this on the ellipses, click on manage access, and from here I'll have my visitors. I don't want my visitors to view this, so I'm going to click on stop sharing. Remove. There you go. And now my demo team site members here, they currently have the edit option, but I only want them to be able to view. So I'm going to click on can view. That means they cannot make any changes, they can't add anything else to that folder, and they can't make any changes to those documents in that particular folder as well. So there you go, as simple as that. So now all the members still have access to it, but they just won't be able to make any changes. Same thing for my IT help here. I can go into my manage access, and from here I can leave the visitors there on read only, but I also want my colleagues here to only have read only permission so they can only view. And as you can see, it was that easy from here. Now, in addition, if you want to get alerts anytime an item gets added to this to this particular document library, you do have the option to do that. Now, there are options we can do that by utilizing Power Automate. So you can click on Automate here and create new rules. Or you can click on Integrate, and from Integrate, you can click on Power Automate here, and you can create a new flow. But I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go onto my ellipses here, and I have the option here to manage my alerts or alert me. So I'm going to click on Alert Me, and it's going to open up this new window here. So what I want to do here first is I want to go ahead and give this a title. By default, it's going to be on documents. So I want to make sure that I know what the alert is. It doesn't simply say documents. So it can be our demo site documents. There you go. I think, or our demo team. Let me put a demo team. That makes more sense. And there you go. So now I know exactly where this notification is coming from. If I needed to add other management to be able to get alerts, you can do that from here. I'll automatically receive an alert to the email. If I needed to add a text message, I can do that from here. I have the option to only send me alerts when a new item is added or when the existing item is modified. I can put all changes here. I can select for any changes as well, or someone else changes the document. I'm going to leave it on any changes. And down here, you can select the frequency as well as when you receive that notification. It can be send a notification immediately. It could be a daily summary or send a weekly summary. And if you select these, you do have the time, the frequency you will receive it. I'm going to put it on send notification immediately and click on OK. And now I do have another option here where I can go back to the ellipses and click on manage my alerts. So we can go ahead and either delete this one, so I can go ahead and select it. I remember I just named this demo team documents. I can go ahead and modify this, or I can delete the selected alerts or add more alerts if I needed to. So your alerts are not just simply a one item thing. You can add multiple alerts if you needed to. And that's about it for item level permissions. Now, there are also available for parental permissions as well by going into your team sites as well, but we're not going to touch on that in a second. We're not going to touch that. We're going to, if anything, I'm going to see if I can leave some resources within the description of this particular video. But what I want to showcase here is something else, where from here you have other options here where you have the option to view site usage. So I can click on site usage, and I will have a complete breakdown over here of unique viewers, site visits. I have my average time spent on this particular site as well. And if I continue scrolling, I'll have even more analytics for people who've accessed this via desktop, mobile, or other devices. I can see what time they usually also navigate to this particular site. So I'll have a complete report. From here, I have the option for the past 7 days, past 30 days, or the past 90 days. I'll have all that here. So I can see if this team site or a communication site, which you can do the same thing for, is functioning the way I intended it to. Or if I need to push this more or have more activity. You can even have the option to go to the site usage analytics, and you can download this information as well if you needed to share this out with your other colleagues or your managers as well. So again, you'll have a lot of options here. And if we go back to our cogwheel, we do have this option here where it says site information. Within our site information, we can update the name, we can update the description. You also can make this into a hub site as well. Or we do have the option to change the privacy as well as delete this entire site from here as well. Alrighty, so with that being said, I want to go ahead and just simply recap what we went through today. So today we learned how to are planning your site as well as building your site. We learned to manage usage permissions, and we learned as well to view usage as well as how to delete those sites as well. There's no time for questions and answers as this is not live. So with that being said, I just want to go ahead and thank everyone for joining me today. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.